Hey everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to my channel, and I'm doing kind of a fun video where I'm going to talk about my favorite books when I was younger that I actually still own, that are like my original books from when I was a kid. And I know that's kind of a weird video, but I thought about it the other day because I was organizing my bookshelf, and I have moved a lot in the last decade for work. We moved to Indy, we moved 2 places in Virginia, we moved back to Northwest Indiana, we moved a second time in Northwest Indiana. I've done a lot of moving. And one of the things I have done in all of these moves is sort of like shrunk my book collection. So I actually don't have a lot of physical books. Some of my favorite books I now own on Kindle because it's just hard when you're moving that much to keep moving your books around the country. So I have gotten rid of a lot of things, but I have kept a few books that were my favorites when I was younger, and I still have them because they were just my favorite books when I was younger. And I thought it would be fun to kind of like reminisce and show you guys. And I'm kind of wondering if anybody else, so if anybody else has books from like childhood, I would love to see what some of your books are. Do you still have them, and what are they, and why'd you keep them? So when I'm talking about like childhood, I'm talking about middle school and younger for me. For some of you, it may be high school, but for me, I'm talking like middle school and younger. So I have a couple that were like elementary school level books and a couple that I read in middle school, but they were my favorite growing up, and so I've kept them. So the first couple of books I have to show you are actually books that my mom gave me. So the first one is Rand McNally's Favorite Bedtime Stories, and it's just literally the Rand McNally book of bedtime stories. And it has like 4 stories, I think, in here. I used to love this book when I was little. The 3 Bears and Goldilocks. It's got the Little Fire Engine, Noah's Ark, and Twilight Tales. And I loved the pictures on here when I was little. Like, look at number 9, Fire Engine. Isn't it cute? They're the best drawings, and they're just little stories. And my mom did used to read these to me when I was little. So this Rand McNally book, and then the second Rand McNally book I have is Real Mother Goose. It's the Rand McNally book of Mother Goose, and it's just literally Mother Goose ones. It's the whole book of Mother Goose, and I don't even know if she's popular anymore these days, but she was when I was younger. Let me see if I can find one. Hold on, I'm looking for a good one. Oh, Sing a Song of Sixpence, a pocket full of rye, 4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie. When the pie was open, the birds began to sing. Was not that a dainty dish to set before the king? And then they've got the picture of the king and his blackbirds. So here's the cool thing about these books, because they're both Rand McNally books, and I actually have a couple other ones here. I've got one that's like a map of the world and Bible stories and things like that. I have like 4 of these, and why these are important and why I've kept them is because my mom made them. Believe it or not, she worked for Rand McNally, and she was the binder, the person who ran the binding machine. And so what they would do is they would do like a test bind, she said, where they would test the first couple books to see if they were bound correctly, and you would get to keep them. And so she brought these home for me and my sister, and I still have them because my mommy made them, and I love them, and I still sometimes bust them out and read them because my mommy made them. Why not? And then the next book, the third book I've kept, is Peppermint. This book is literally falling apart. I don't even know when it was published. I think like it's an old one. If you look at it, it looks like it's an old one because the kids are wearing very like 70s-ish clothing. And basically it's about this candy shop, and the owner of the candy shop has a cat, and the cat has babies, and she has all these beautiful babies that they name after candy. And they all have names like Gumdrop and Lollipop and all that. And the little one is the little white one. And the little white one is Skinny because she's the runt of the litter. They don't say it's the runt, but you know, when you're older, you figure out it's the runt of the litter. And the baby is small and tiny, and no one wants the baby. And then there's this little girl who comes to the candy store, and she sees this baby and she falls in love with it, and she has to talk her parents into buying the kitten. Her name is Barbara, and the baby is Peppermint. And everybody falls in love with Peppermint, and she gets to take Peppermint home. And that's the whole book. And I don't know why I loved this book so much when I was little, but I kept it and I still have it. And I will never get rid of it because I love this book. And I don't even know, I don't know what this book was from. It doesn't even have an author on it. Like, I don't know who wrote it. There's no author. It's just Peppermint, literally. Like, just, that's it. There's no author. It's just by Marigold Press. So I have no idea who wrote this book, but it's cute and I've kept it all these years. All right. The next book I kept is My Sergei by Ekaterina Gordieva with E.M. Swift. And I got this book in 1996, I think is when it came out. Let me check the year. I think it was back in 1996. And for those of you who, 1996. For those of you who don't know, Sergei Grinkov was a figure skater from Russia, and his wife was a pair skater. They were a team that had won 2 Olympic gold medals. And back in 1995, he had a heart attack at the age of 28 years old, and he died. And she was left a widow. And I was a huge fan of figure skating back then. You have to remember, this is right after 94. This was the whole Nancy and Tanya scandal, and figure skating was everywhere. It was all over TV. They had specials. You can actually go to like shows. They would tour and go on skating shows. I mean, it was a huge deal. Still kind of is in some areas of the world, but in the US, it's kind of died down in the last decade or so. So figure skating is not the big deal it was back in the 90s. And I was 13 when Sergei passed away. And I was devastated because they were my favorite skating team and I loved them so much. And I remember just crying for days that Sergei passed away. I mean, they were just beautiful. They were just beautiful. And when this book came out, I was a little bit too young at 13 to really grasp everything she talked about in the book. But I've reread it several times as I've gotten older. And as you can tell, I've read the crap out of this book. Like, it's kind of starting to fall apart in some pages. But I think I read this book like every month for the first year I had it. And I went back and read it as an adult. And it's a beautiful story. And I've kept it all these years because I don't even know if this is being... this may be out of print now. I don't know. Because she was so popular right after her husband passed away. So I don't know if you can even buy this anymore, but I loved it and I've kept it. So, and then the last book I still have, again, is very well loved. As you can see, I've had this one since I was about 12 or 13 as well. And it is Dark Angel by V.C. Andrews. And boy, this book jacket has just really been through it. But the book underneath is actually still in print. Well, no, I lied. It's coming out here. It's coming out. Losing the binding here. But I loved V.C. Andrews. Now, I was reading V.C. Andrews probably long before I should have been reading V.C. Andrews, truth be told. I started reading my first V.C. Andrews book when I was like 12. And, considering the adult situations in these books, I was probably a little bit young for that. But my sister was reading them. She was in high school at the time. And I did everything my sister did because I was obsessed with my sister. I wanted to be just like her. Just like her. And as she was reading V.C. Andrews, I was reading V.C. Andrews too. So I did. And the favorite series for me was this series, the Castile series. I loved them so much. And Dark Angel was my favorite book. Troy Tatterton was my book boyfriend. He was absolutely... I wanted to marry someone just like Troy Tatterton because... he made toys. He was an artist. He wrote poetry. He was tall, dark, and handsome. I look back at it as an adult and I'm like, the dude was like clinically depressed and probably need to see a therapist. And I don't know that relationship really would have worked. But at 12 and 13 years old, I was going to marry me some Troy Tatterton. And so I loved this book and I read it so much. I mean, this poor book, whew, it has been through. It smells. I'm not going to lie. Oh, God, it has an odor. I don't know what I did to this book. It is rough. It is rough. And every once in a while, I do bust out and read it, but I don't usually read this copy. I read an ebook version that I bought because this poor book has just really been through it, but I still have it because I loved that book. And those are like the few childhood books that I've just kind of held on to. And I've got the whole Castile series, but I've replaced them all. I have never replaced this one. Obviously, I need to. But I love this book. All right, guys. What are some of your books from childhood you still have? I'd love to hear about it. If you're interested, leave me in your comment section. What do you have? Do a video. Tell me about them. Whatever. I think it's kind of fun to see like what we hold on to. And so many other books that come and go off my bookshelf. But those have never left. I've kept them all these years. So, love to hear about it. Talk to y'all in the next video. Bye!